Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Oklahoma Venture Forum podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Goulding. I'm joined today by Alex Lobodiak and Justin Carpenter from Core Scribe. Alex is co-founder and CRO, and Justin is co-founder and CEO. Good to see you guys today.
Thanks for having us.
Pleasure to be on.
All right, introduce what Core Scribe is, what it does, and who might be interested in it.
Yeah, so we started Core Scribe with the intention to help alleviate administrative burden from primarily folks that are healers, whether it's doctors, lawyers, people in finance, those types of industries that do really well in face-to-face settings that are trying to help people in some form or fashion. We found that, and it's been relayed to us, that there's a ton of burnout in the note-taking and in the documentation side of the business, and so we wanted to create.
But it's critical, like it's required by law.
Absolutely.
Stuff, right?
Well, and as a reference point, like that stuff is invaluable to be able to serve your clients better in the future, right? And so, is there a way? We decided to explore if there was a way to automate some of that so that they could be fully focused on the person across the table from them for better patient or client outcomes.
And Kyle makes a good point about a lot of these federally required documentation purposes, which is kind of why we're focusing on a lot of the more federally regulated industries, like finance and healthcare and law practice, because as we've come to learn through a lot of these interviews with customer discovery is that a lot of them are required to document all of these interactions they have, and so many of them happen face-to-face, it's just kind of difficult to write notes and be present with them at the same time. And these industries are moving towards a place where to really differentiate yourself, like you need to have this type of genuine human interaction with people and not just run them through, a questionnaire.
Well, and not only that, I think one of the biggest strains is that documentation is usually not billable hours, right? So it's essential, but it's not something that can be billed for. So it's essential, but not at all helpful to the compensation.
But it would be helpful if you could speed it up, keep it accurate, have a place where they could store all this information,
totally
conveniently reference it, etc.
Yeah. So I guess one of the fun examples about that is you've got counselors and people in like the mental health industry that they have, I believe, this term called pajama time, and
which sounds kind of fun actually, but it also means they're working so long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so where they think that it sounds like a fun idea, but in reality it's them logging in after hours to work on all this documentation instead of spending time with their families, and we're going to help them recapture that time.
So let's go take a few steps back. Obviously, you identified a problem. First step of a good business is identifying a problem and how to solve it. But at what point did the two of you or anyone else involved look at each other and go, there's a potential for a product and for a business here?
Yeah, so initially, my background is hospitality, right? I've been in the restaurant industry, have owned Foolish Things in Tulsa for the last 12 years, started that. And fundamentally, my wife and I view our calling, our purpose, whatever you want to call it, is hospitality, which is to say, like, anybody who crosses our paths ought to be better off, even if it's a short interaction. And so that sentiment has been a through line in everything that we do, whether it's our home, our businesses, or otherwise. And we've really found that the people that we care so much for tend to be in the mental health space or tend to be in law or finance. And they have talked at length about how much burnout there is in their industries around not just documentation, but it's a huge part of it. That not only do they have to be focused on healing and working with their clientele, but they also have to be good writers, and they have to be really organized in their thoughts, and they have to be really tech savvy. I mean, a lot of folks that we interact with are not particularly the most technologically advanced, right? And so they have to be skilled at all these disciplines outside of just being in relationship and healing and working with their client across the table. And I think this is supported by statistics. There have been numerous studies about patient outcomes, higher and statistically significant better patient outcomes when doctors are fully present with their patients. And so we started exploring like, okay, the technology has advanced enough. There should be a right reordering of this relationship. I think so much of, forever, technology has been the master, and we have to contort ourselves to work around its idiosyncrasies. And I think that we're at this inflection point where we can reorder that relationship, and humans can be at the center of an interaction, and technology can sit in the background and take care of the rest. So that's what we started to explore. And as you know, being in the hospitality industry, I know that nothing meaningful or good can happen on your own. And so started working on a team of folks that were the best at what they do. One of them was our developer, Zach Miles, who has built the technology and is a unbelievable person in his own right. But
total whiz kid.
You gotta have one of those.
Oh my gosh, Zach is. And the cool thing about Zach is not only does he understand the tech, but he's genuinely interested in solving problems. Like in a perfect world, solving big problems or working on big problems is what he'd spend his time doing. So started talking with Zach of like, hey, is this even possible? Like as we started having more and more pointed questions around, hey, tell me about documentation, and seeing people's eyes glaze over and ask how much time we had, brought him on. And then Alex and I actually went to high school together and have kept in touch on and off. But
I actually had Justin on Startup Grind way back when we first launched in Tulsa.
Yeah.
Talking about his restaurateurship.
Yeah. So we've been keeping connection and have also had an affinity in the startup space, entrepreneurial space. And my background is not formal sales. Like I understand the process and love relationships, but a systematic approach to sales and revenue is not something that I have a ton of experience in. And so in some of the conversations that you and I had, knowing your long list of experience, both in relationships and also in sales, just started exploring like, hey, would this at all be something that you'd be interested in working on? And graciously, Alex said, yeah, absolutely. And I think the rest is history, and we'll see where the future goes.
Yeah.
So you're fully launched. You're available to the public. You've got first customer, second customer, etc. Right? So
yeah.
Where are you today exactly, and where do you see this going in the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, happy to chime in on that. So yeah, we're proud to say that we've crossed the penny gap. We've got paying customers. We are still really searching for people that want to test this out. We're happy to offer free trials to those that are interested. But yeah, I think ideally we are targeting a lot of these regulated industries, and we're wanting to get a few more wins under the belt before really, I think, notching things up and going for more of a massive campaign. But all the feedback that we've been getting has been pretty incredible. We've done hundreds of customer discovery interviews. Many of those either said this would, greatly impact what we're doing, or say, while I can't use this, I know a friend that could really enjoy using this, and this would really benefit them.
So we mentioned regulated industries and medical a few times. So I'm going to assume it's HIPAA compliant.
Yeah. So the way that we operate is as a business associate agreement with these covered entities, and Justin might be able to speak a little bit more to this, but more or less, yes, we can operate with HIPAA compliance.
Excellent. So you don't have to be, though, a doctor or an attorney or an accountant to use it. Maybe someone like myself, like a podcaster, podcasting needs notes and needs documentation as well. So there's a lot of different people that can be using it, not just regulated industry.
Yeah, you make a good point. And we would love to provide after this episode a Core Scribe powered summary of the podcast that you can put on this. So
that would be awesome.
We'll share that with you. That'd be lovely. But yeah, you make a great point. So, right now our initial goal is to focus on a lot of these more regulated industries, just because I think the need is there, and they have generally higher hourly salaries. So the more time that they spend not on their core competencies, the more ROI that they're losing out on, and then less authentic conversations that they're having. So Yeah, that's the initial plan, but we're certainly not turning away industries that come to us and like podcasting or sales or whatnot that might be able to
training,
benefit.
customer service, anything like that, right? That sort of needs something recorded, documented, maybe something that could be referenced later, maybe even education. There's all kinds of applications just off the top of my head. It looks like that you would be viable for.
Yeah, there's definitely some trends happening in the education space, especially with accessible learning and long distance learning, where a lot of professors are either embracing now or will soon be required to more or less tape and provide summaries and transcriptions of a lot of their lectures.
Right. So obviously a big impact in business right now is machine learning, AI, etc. So how does this fit into that? How are you utilizing that? And what do you think the future of that technology is going to be for something like Core Scribe?
Yeah, so we actually use that as large language modules as the kind of engine behind what we're doing. And I, granted, am in the industry, so I'm very bullish on the future of it. But I really think that this is a technology that reorders the nature of relationships between humans and machines, right? I think that for all the scary news that we see, I less see this technology as something that's going to replace humans and more as a tool that's going to empower humans to be better and more effective at what they do. I like using the analogy of, a carpenter, instead of using a hammer and nails, using a nail gun. Like it's a technology that eliminates the inefficiencies of some of the things that you ask anybody in any industry, if you ask the simple question of what about your job ought to be automated, and more often than not, it's going to be things that everybody knows, like a computer should be able to do this for me, right? And we're creating space and using technology to leverage that sentiment of, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like you should do what humans should uniquely be capable of doing, right, and let computers do the rest.
There you go. Now you guys are out of Tulsa. Of course, amazing things happening in Tulsa, and OVF has been in Tulsa for the 2023-24 session. You guys will be pitching in March at our third Tulsa event. What does it mean for you guys being in Tulsa for OVF to come there, from not just being in Oklahoma City, but having a presence in Tulsa?
For me, it's great, and having the pleasure of sitting, both in this chair as a startup that's pitching OVF, but also being able to put on my OVF board member hat. And say, what it means to truly be a statewide organization. Where OVF is doing that. And I think that just by having additional presences multiple times a year in Tulsa is opening up opportunities for a lot of, let's say, cross-pollination between the different ecosystems in Oklahoma to share not just ideas that are happening, but investors and startups and all these great things. And I think, the more collaboration that we see there, both as a startup executive and also as a OVF board member, I think these are all great things that are going to be pushing the ecosystem forward for everyone.
So March 13th is going to be the pitch presentation. So if you're hearing this before March 13th, make sure that you get in the room to to hear the pitch and have Q&A and learn more about what these guys are doing. If you've heard this podcast afterwards, of course, it's corescribe.io is the website, right? You can always contact Alex and Justin there, or if you're an OVF member, you'll have access to the connection, because every pitch presentation, members get access to contact information and et cetera afterwards. So another benefit of being an OVF member. I want to slide in there real quick to make sure people understand the value of OVF. But OVF is bringing together startups and young companies, and they're bringing together investors, and we're having pitch days, both Oklahoma City and Tulsa, and doing all kinds of things that really kind of make the ecosystem work just a little bit better. So tell me this last bit. What's your favorite part about being in Tulsa?
Ooh, well, I have my family there. A lot of my family is there, and so being able to have them around is a big thing of it for me. Also, just absolutely love the arts and restaurant scene that they have there, as well as just the general support for the entrepreneurial ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm biased, right? So the hospitality industry and the culture scene.
But you're not wrong. It's
right.
Great. It's
yeah.
good. It's very good.
I mean, I forget who was saying it, and I think it's a very eloquent way of talking about it, but Tulsa's a boutique city, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it has a high density of culture for the square footage, and it's such a rich history, whether it's Canes or the museum scene. Like, I don't know, I love the city for the culture.
I might be getting it wrong, but one of my favorite quotes about Tulsa, or representations of it, is it's either the biggest small city you'll ever experience, or the smallest big city that you'll ever experience, because generally chances are that you know someone that knows someone, and there's a lot of overlap there, so it's kind of fun.
There you go. So we'll be in Tulsa again in March for our third meeting this session, and I'm predicting already 24-25 session we'll definitely have multiple meetings in Tulsa as well. This has been Alex Lobodiak and Justin Carpenter for Core Scribe. If you guys want more information, go to corescribe.io. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.